Welcome to the Type 1 Radio Lounge with myself, Sonic,
Pajik,
and Vic,
and Steve,
and we have a very special guest on this Monday show of the Lounge. We have Ben Stewert. Hello, Ben.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Good to hear from you.
Pleasure to have you on, sir. Very, very excellent film.
Yes. So if anybody doesn't know, where have you been? Ben has made some marvellous films, one Esoteric Agenda, Kymatica, and is your latest one Ungripped?
Ungrip, yes.
That was last year though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was released October.
Mm-hmm.
I think I forget the exact date. It might have been October 1st of last year, 2011.
It's funny because only when I learned you were coming on the show tonight did I realise that you had made Ungripped. Because you're not actually in it,
really?
are you?
Yeah, he is.
No, it's mostly about Rob though, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but he does talky bits in it.
Yeah, but he's not. Anyway, I didn't realise it was your film, man, and it's really, I loved it. Brilliant.
Yeah.
all your films.
All your films are great, yeah.
Beautifully made. Beautiful compilations of, everyone's kind of research put together in a coherent way. It's brilliant.
And if any of the listeners would like to call in to the lounge and pose any questions to the lovely Ben, the number is 760-283 0818, and you can Skype in as well. So maybe if we start off with Esoteric Agenda, what first made you initially want to make a film?
What inspired you?
Yes.
How did you get into looking into esoteric knowledge and wanting to portray what you saw?
Well, what got me into studying the esoteric really was, I could date that back to my brother when I was 11 or 12. He was really into the Tao Te Ching. He did a lot of study in the occults. So just to preface this, all the films that I've made have been both my brother and I. He's the one kind of behind the curtains, doesn't really get much of the credit because his face isn't seen. You see him a little bit in Kymatica, though, but Dan Stewert, my brother, he's been one of the biggest inspirations for me. He's the one that really got me looking into more of the abstract nature of the mind and consciousness at an early age. But what got me into the film type, that whole portion of my life, which has really only started since 2007, 2008, is the band, Hyrosonic, that I'm in. The first film, Esoteric Agenda, was actually supposed to be a film kind of elaborating the message or expounding upon the message of Hyrosonic, because we were getting some emails and I was getting a lot of people asking me what the lyrics were about and kind of what the overall message was. So I kind of figured it would be cool to put like a 15-minute short documentary about some of the research that I've done and some of the message behind the lyrics of the band. And 6 months later, I presented the band with a 2-hour documentary that had nothing to do with Hyrosonic whatsoever.
This was we wanted.
So they were very instrumental in inspiring me to get the film out there. So when I released it, I believe that was 2008, I released Esoteric Agenda. It wasn't even supposed to be released. I never really even planned on finishing it until I was getting some emails. I put up a couple chunks of Esoteric Agenda, and I got some emails from people saying, when are you going to finish it? So while I was in the studio recording one of the tracks that eventually ended up on the album Kymatica, that was when I finished the film, Esoteric Agenda. So then when I released it, I was flooded by emails nonstop from people all over the world, and it was great. I mean, the emails were from every type of mindset, people that love the film, people that hated the film, people that felt they really resonated with it, other people that just didn't understand it. But what actually allowed me to accept the fact that, at that point I was a filmmaker was when I got an email from somebody, a very specific email. I'm not going to get into the details, but apparently Esoteric Agenda had affected him so much that it changed his entire life, and a lot of good, but also a lot of very profound struggles he was dealing with in his life at the time. His marriage fell apart. He didn't have access to seeing his kids anymore, and he related it to, he stated that a lot of that came about after watching Esoteric Agenda. And at that point, it scared me because I was like, "What have I done?" I didn't intend to reach people. Whether on a good or bad note, I didn't really ever realize that what I was doing and what the message of Hierosonic and all of that. I didn't really realize that was reaching people the way that it was. So that
means it's pure.
Yeah. Maybe.
Well, yeah, and it also means that beforehand I was, and I'm not saying this in a condescending way, but I was a kid, I was a child, I was immature. Yeah. So that was a moment where I decided to grow up, and that was when I decided to start putting work into the film Kymatica, which came out January of 2009 in tandem with Hyrosonic's album Kymatica. So this entire time, the films have been right there alongside the message of Hierosonic, and over the past few years, the touring has really kind of been merging. Where when the band goes out on tour, it has a lot to do with the entire message. It's not just us going out and playing gigs and playing shows and just playing our music anymore. Even though that's the crux of it, that's our art. But I think people started realizing a little bit more that there's more behind the story of Hierosonic. So it's pretty rad how it came together. But that's pretty much the story of how Esoteric Agenda led to Kymatica, and how that kind of led to the film Ungrip was the very first talk I ever did was up in Toronto, and that just happened to be where I met Rob because it was his first talk. My first talk, and a girl up there who did amazing studies in Heilkunst and anthroposophy, the study of Rudolf Steiner's study.
Yeah.
So we did our first talk up there on the summer solstice of 2008, I believe it was, and that was when I met Rob, and I kind of immediately was just very impressed by the fact that he was walking the walk as, everything that I was preaching about, he was actually like applying to his life, and I thought that was beautiful. So that was when we decided to start working on a film together. So then obviously that leads us to October of last year where Ungrip was released, and then, since then a lot has happened up his way, and a lot has happened down our way, but we're still looking to, to do a lot more work together as far as talks and see where we can go from here.
Yeah, cool.
Excellent. So I see on your page, the Hierosonic page, that you're coming touring over this way.
Really?
Is it Germany that you're playing?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the very last thing you said.
You're coming to tour.
You're coming to play over here, then?
Coming to play in Germany?
Germany, yeah. So far, we're still looking at getting in other places over in Europe. But as of right now, the promotions, the radio, and all the publicity has been going on in Germany. And I guess where have we recently? The UK and Belgium. The UK and Belgium. We started, I guess, radio and publicity has started working into there. So we're looking at, invading all of Europe, hopefully.
Maybe we can get some interest here for you.
Yeah. Definitely come to Brighton.
We'll definitely push you around here.
Well, I would absolutely love to. And, we're a very DIY, do-it-yourself band. So there's a possibility that we personally will be contacting people about getting the band and getting myself for some talks other places in Europe while we're over there. Because
well, we'll definitely put on some talks with you.
Yeah.
We do that for us sort of.
Yeah, and we could find places for all of you to stay as well.
Yeah, man. Will you stay here?
Maybe a gig or two as well.
How many are you?
well, there's 5 in the band.
And when you do your talks, you just do it on your own?
Yeah, I mean, so far that's how.
Come and stay with us. We'll.
That'd be beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's absolutely. Let's chat about that. I'm serious about
yeah, no, we're serious. We've had many people stay with us, including Dr. Judy Wood and Kevin Arnott.
Yeah, Darren
Dioge, yeah. So you'll be staying
awesome.
yeah, but and you also know we will be showing your films in the summer at festivals.
Oh, right on.
Did you know that? No.
Yeah. Well, Ben.
You know what? I did know that.
Yeah.
Ben, yeah.
I asked Ben.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've downloaded a couple of them already, and we'll be converting them. So.
So maybe that esoteric agenda will be sparking the synapses in the new generation over here.
We'll be putting the spores out on the air.
Oh, that'd be beautiful. Hey, if you guys give me your mailing address, I'll mail you out some DVDs.
Excellent.
Cool. Yeah. We'll do all that for sure.
Yeah, we're going to be showing Max's new film Transformation, which you're in as well.
Yeah, Transformation is a beautiful film. Max is a living legend. He's
yeah.
And also, oh no, he's not in that one. I was thinking of Reverb's, Tattoo Verb.
Yeah, he's in that as well. You're in that. You're in Vox Populi as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
Vox Populi. I wasn't aware of that. No, you know what? I think somebody did mention that before. Vox Populi. If you could send me a link to that too, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'm sure you're in that one.
Yeah.
Is that not the same Ben Stewart though?
Yeah.
Do you not remember being interviewed by a girl called Megan Verb?
Oh, that's right. You know what? I didn't know that was the name of her film. Yes, I do. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not, but that's the things there.
Don't forget.
Oh, that's so blasé, Ben. You can't remember you're in movies.
Yeah, you know, that dead unconscious.
I like it already.
So, Ben, the Kymatica film, that was like the next step from Esoteric Agenda, and it gives quite a good lead trail into the free man movement, and not just the free man movement, but the free mind movement. How did you go from, like you say, your kind of green beginnings with Esoteric Agenda to actually having an agenda for Kymatica?
Well, the best way that I could say that is, as an artist, any artist will, if they're studying themselves and that's where the art comes from, then they'll recognize that stagnation in art is the number one. I don't want to say taboo because it's not wrong, but it kills your creativity. So what I realized was I can't regurgitate the same kind of film. So as Esoteric Agenda was a conspiracy film, what I realized that was when I was first really starting to put the puzzle pieces together as far as the conspiracy that I saw, I recognized that all I was doing was I was recognizing the world for what it was, but I was looking at it in a very urgent manner. So that's why the I guess you could say the energy behind Esoteric Agenda had a lot of urgency to it. That was me saying, guys, let's wake up, look at what's going on, look what's happening right in front of us, right in our own backyards.
Yeah.
So that was Esoteric Agenda, but towards the end of Esoteric Agenda, that was when I really started getting into what the role of consciousness is in that. And that was I'm fully willing to admit it now, that was a little premature for me because I wasn't truly studying myself the way that I understand to study myself now. It sounded right.
Well, it sounded like a learning process for you then, didn't it?
It was, and making the film, it was it was beautiful because, and I've done this before, and I noticed this with the band. I would write a song, and I wouldn't 100% understand the lyrics of it until a few years later when it would come to fruition.
I can concur with that. Yeah.
So yeah, and it's a beautiful thing. I've heard many artists say that actually. But so what I noticed was that after Esoteric Agenda, and after I was getting so many emails about people, you know, who were actually applying what I was saying, I figured, oh, well, isn't that fancy? I might as well start applying what I'm saying as well. So basically, a year later, that was Kymatica was the progression that I had made. So if it seems a little less urgent and a little bit more encouraging, in a sense of not, you know, wake up, we need to start looking at what's going on now, it had more of the energy of like, why don't you turn your focus back inward and actually look at the core of these problems? And there's no real urgency to it. It could take an instant to change your entire life, but just look at yourself and look at how you, within just the way that you treat people, the way you treat your environment, the way you treat your living quarters, the way you treat the food that goes into your body, the way you treat the oxygen that you breathe, all of that has to do with the way that our mind operates. And, you know, to me, you know, our bodies are made of the food that we've eaten from the beginning of our life to now. Well, as you're digesting it, as you're eating it, if you're not paying attention to that food, if you're watching TV as you're shoving food into your mouth, that's going to turn into unconscious parts of your physical anatomy. And that is why it is so easy for us to stay unconscious, because when we repress something, it has to go somewhere. And many people think of this fictitious land, you know, in Annalee or something like that. They try and think of this this fantasy world that repressed emotions go to, but they actually physically go somewhere in your body. Most of our repressed emotions go to our hips, and a lot of it goes to our spine. And if you notice, repression will turn into a hunchback. Repression can turn into a curved spine, or it can turn into some type of deformity. Now, it doesn't always have to show up in your anatomy, but the point I'm trying to get at is after a while, when you repress something that you're just not paying attention to and you refuse to look at the reality of, that energetic signature from from your environment into your consciousness has to reflect itself somewhere in your body. And that's why Da Vinci loved the beauty and the specific, how should I say it, the specific makeup of the anatomy. You know, he went very, very, very much so into how numerology and the Fibonacci sequence actually can map out the human body from a certain vortex that lies right around the navel, which is when you're born. Obviously, when the egg is fertilized, that's the spot of the egg that touches the wall, basically that turns into your umbilical cord, and that is where you receive all of your nourishment and the formative stages of you when you're born. So all of your energy emerges forth from that. So when you are in a car accident and you don't want to admit to the fact that it was your ignorance that led to that car accident, and this is just an example, that goes somewhere. That energetic signature goes somewhere in your body, and then you repress it. And if later on down the line that part wants to relax and relieve that tension, and you don't want it, you don't want that truth, then what basically happens is you need to create some more lies. You need to create something else to further repress that. And that's when it turns into physical illness. That's when it turns into physical deformities and psychological aggregates and things along those lines. So that was, long story short, that was when I started realizing, wow, this is for real, So I figured, okay, to me, this is just as important to get the word out about this as it was to get the word out about Esoteric Agenda. So long story short, that's what led to Kymatica and the inspiration that led to releasing that film.
For those who haven't uninitiated, could you give a brief description of or definition of Kymatica? And I'm not too up on Bruce Lipton's work, but could you kind of do that?
For sure. Kymatica is actually a word that, well, the bassist in my band, Mike, he brought up to me when we were looking for a name, a title for our album. He was thinking of something vibration. He was just like, you know, sacred vibrations or something that kind of had to do with what hierosonic means, because hierosonic, hiero, like hieroglyphics, means sacred, and sonic, vibration, sound, noise. So Kymatica basically is a Greek way to say cymatics, which cymatics, if you type that into Google or YouTube, if you look up the science of cymatics, you'll actually find a lot of experiments that people did, and you know, this goes back to eurythmy, which is another Rudolf Steiner.
Yeah. Have you heard of the work of John Stewart Reed? He's developed the cymoscope.
Cinematoscope.
Yeah.
You know what? I haven't. It sounds very familiar. The name definitely sounds familiar, and I'll tell you the truth. I may have seen something about it, but maybe I wasn't ready to hold on to it yet. So.
Yeah, and he talks about radionics, and he was at a festival that we went to about a month ago called the Eternal Knowledge Festival up in Suffolk here. They had some amazing speakers, but he was talking about cymatics and radionics. Continue.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, if you could remember to send me a link on him too, I'd love to check him out.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, so basically, Kymatica, what it means to me, I'll say, is, and you know, what it means kind of to the band is just that play, you know, the relationship between vibration and matter, which is, you know, anyone who's done a little bit of research and also just a little bit of observation will realize that that's pretty much all that anything manifest is it's crystallized vibration. So physical matter is energy that's just condensed and materialized into a very specific function, being a vessel for vibration. And the vibration that hasn't manifested itself yet is still able to perform fluid functions, if you will. So, you know, we have our physical body, but we also have creativity. Now, our body and our creativity are no different. They're made of the same exact light. However, for our creativity to have some sort of instrument to work through, it needs to crystallize a portion of itself to become a vessel for itself to work in. And that's what a prism is. So if you're familiar with Pink Floyd's The cover of Dark Side, that prism is the same thing as that light. So, you know, the light that enters it and the light that exits it. But the light that exits it is the colors, the aspects of that light. So every single color has within it that original light, and so does the prism. But that original light needed to create, and I love how they use it, a three-sided prism, because if you look at the Tree of Life, the very top triangle, the supernal triangle, is the Holy Trinity. It's Keter, Hokman, Binah.
Yeah.
In Hindu, that's Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. You have the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. And it's really these three aspects of creation, because creation also has within it its own destruction and its own maintenance. So light, for it to do anything, for it to become manifest, that infinite potentiality of light needs to have a vessel. So firstly, through that trinity, it creates a prism. And that's what you see on the cover of The Dark Side of the Moon. And then what happens inside that prism and the light that emerges from the prism, well, I'll start with what happens inside the prism. What happens inside the prism is everything that you're seeing in the universe. The Big Bang is actually light entering the physical body of the universe. So that's why it looks just like light. Obviously, the sun, all these billions of stars, is light swirling around inside of a prism. It's its own body. You know, basically, light's own body created the universe so it can play within this prism. And what happens with a prism is it refracts light, and it shows you, it turns the light into a riddle. It turns the oneness of infinite light into a finite riddle of itself. So within the universe, you can look at it and you can solve the riddle of the universe, but you have to do it by bringing the multiplicity back to unity and recognizing that unity within it. So that's what happens within us. You know, that's why the pupils of our eyes are black holes, because they are the pupil of the sun, just like the apostles were the pupils of the Son of God. So it receives light. We receive light through the black holes of our eyes, and we are a physical prism, and what that prism does is it refracts light within us that we can play with. But it is our opportunity through our art and through our creativity to then let that light reemerge from us through our art, through our words, through our paintings, through our music, through the way we treat other people, the way we treat our environment. So, long story short, that's kind of what Kymatica means to us, is it's what the relationship between light and the vessel of that light, or what the relationship between the masculine and the feminine, or the relationship between nothingness and somethingness, or unmanifest and the manifest. You know, and with that understanding, it all comes back down to art. And, you know, I beat it over the head, but art is what I myself and the band have been focusing on for the past 10 years, because art to me is the way that you inspire people to look within themselves and recognize their ego and you know, move from it or transmute it into something beautiful. But art inspires change, whereas many other ways of communication seem to demand change. And that's why I moved from Esoteric Agenda to Kymatica, because Esoteric Agenda was a bit more of a demanding, like, you have to look at yourself. Kymatica was more, look at what happens. You know, just
Kymatica is more of an explanation, isn't it? It's more of a, here's the evidence sort of thing.
Right, yes, absolutely.
So, have you read the Beelzebub's Tales to His Grandson by Gurdjieff?
No, I haven't read that. The only Gurdjieff book that I've read is Tales from the Real World, or Tales from the Real World, something like that. And it's a lot of his talks, throughout Germany, and beautiful mind, incredible mind.
Because in that he's sort of saying the progenitors of the human race, or the free brain beings as he calls them, they came up with a problem of how were they going to protect this wisdom and for future generations, and they decided they came up with the idea of art, and that sort of ties in with what you were saying, because art, that's what before things got corrupted, and now art, music, all the things that used to express some kind of spiritual or wisdom aspect or deeper esoteric aspect of ourselves, and have been kind of bastardized and turned into commodities, and egos being attached to them, and that's what we're left with now. So art's kind of degenerated. So what you're doing is probably, is admirable,
Well, I appreciate that. There's something I definitely want to say about that, because I definitely resonate with what you're saying. However, I'd put it in a different way. Art, it's impossible to degenerate art. It hides itself very well, just as, a caterpillar goes through that very grim, grotesque period of its life that leads it into becoming something that is much more beautiful, if you will, and that's just obviously an analogy. But the industry has
that's what I was talking about.
Art. It's kind of like Republicans have no idea what a republic truly is, or if they do, they're doing a damn good job of fooling people. So artists out there now are actually just hired industry reps, and art is not degenerated. It's just where people are looking for art is industry, and industry has degenerated because there's very little art in it. When you're only looking for how it can serve you, when you're only looking for the type of money and the benefits that you can get from art, then you're denying the fact that art is even a part of it. So when you look at the industry, and I could give the microphone over to my guitarist here, because he's been a big proponent of how degenerate the industry has actually become.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what I was talking about is like the art has become an ego thing. It's like we have artists over here. I'm not necessarily going to name any names, but they a bed with all our lovers' names on it is considered art, and it's just a gratification of ego. It's got no kind of spiritual or kind of, it's no gnosis in it. There's no, and what you were talking about earlier about actually understanding lyrics years after you've written them, and suddenly they take on something different. It's because a true artist when you're an actual conduit for a higher expression, and it's in you, and you're becoming creative, but you're teaching or you're giving something, even if you're oblivious to it,
Right.
I think that it's that aspect of right brain, left brain, where the artist is the creative right brain, and the left brain doesn't fully cognate what the right brain has come up with, and we say, until later.
Left brain's linear, isn't it?
It's more understanding. It's
right brain's more local.
And I think that you have a very in your work. I see a very it's very linear the way this has come out in your work, and I can see a development and a maturity happening throughout the films of this kind of right brain, left brain, where the right brain, the creative side, is really coming through. But the left brain is in a very subtle but good way controlling that. When I say control, I mean because the left brain is controlling, but I don't mean that it's taking over the control, which is what you're saying is happening to art generally at the moment, is that it's being controlled through this very left brain world that we live in of
it's being used for propaganda
and
there's agendas
there. But often, artists which are too right brain, they don't know how to make food for themselves and become a complete mess about things. Do you know what I mean? It gets too you can be too far either way. You need to have a balance, and I enjoy the balance that you seem to be striking within your art and the work that you create.
Thank you. Honestly, that's balance. You kind of hit the nail on the head there, because obviously when we go to school and we learn language and we learn how to read, a lot of that is a very, very fascinating thing. However, that's how we build on a cultural and a civilization level, by passing down what we've learned through our science, through our philosophy, through our religion, and through our art. So striking a balance between the two is very, very important. And, obviously the creative right is, I guess you could say, that's the feminine dancer, while the masculine left is more of the, obviously the masculine dancer. So one typically leads, and the reason why it's the male, because what that represents is art should inspire the intellect, and the intellect should understand what the art is inspiring it towards. So as with anything, as you'll see in Taoism, the usefulness in a cup comes from the empty space within it, obviously. So in a dance, the space that the feminine opens up is the space in which the masculine will dance. If that space is not opened up, the masculine cannot do what its job is. So it's really good to strike that balance between the two, and that's however that's done. Some people do it through writing, some people do it through their manner of art. Some people do my parents have gotten into the garden out back, and they've turned that into their art project. And my father's even said that's his meditation, is getting out there working on the yard. And
that's the most creative you can be, I think.
Yeah, and it's
you are creating.
It's like convening with God when you're planting seeds in your garden.
Unreal. It's unreal how beautiful. I'll be perfectly honest, I just recently understood what gardening and setting up the compost and and learning the more permaculture way of gardening. I've just recently gotten into a certain kind of method on how that is a meditation in and of itself, and it's just unreal, because if you think about it, there is no waste. Just as within us, like if there's an experience that we have, it's not wasted. We can choose to look at it that way, but it's not wasted. It can be used to fertilize something else, something new, something beautiful.
It's called an open system.
Exactly. However, when we fail to realize that the banana peel and the orange rind and the apple core and the eggshells and all those things could be composted and used with the grass clippings and the leaves and the old dirt and stuff like that to create really, really fertile soil for you to plant next year, then it's thrown away and it's wasted. But in a permaculture setting, obviously nothing goes to waste. It's that open system where everything is food for something else. And I've actually just recently really been getting into aquaponics, and it's beautiful. So again, I guess to kind of bring this full circle is there's no wasted experience whatsoever. It's the way we choose to look at it. So when people are, looking for harmony and balance in the world, if they refuse to look for that within themselves and accept the reality of what is right now, then you're never going to get to what could be tomorrow.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of the point of why I'm here and why, the band is doing what we're doing. It's superseded having to just put food on our plates. We understand that there's something much more important out there, and that is why we've been dealing with the best of the best and the worst of the worst for 10 years and still pushing through it with smiles on our faces and instruments in our hands, because the art is what carries us through it.
Yes, spreading the sound, brother.
Just stop you for a minute there, Ben. We've got a caller on the line.
Sweet.
8805 area code. You're on the Type 1 radio line.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Nate. Hello.
Hello, Nate.
I just wanted. I was really liking what you guys were saying, and I wanted to add that I think we're the new Renaissance era, and as far as the art is going and how it's an emanation of our imagination, and that's what kind of shapes our world. So I really like what you were saying, because, me being a music producer, and I kind of think of it that way, is we're being the new Renaissance man, and with all this knowledge that we're learning from Type 1 artists and everything, we're just expanding. I just wanted to kind of put that out there and just say I'm really enjoying the show.
Excellent.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling.
Nate, thank you very much. Yo, man, email me. I'd like to talk, man. I really like the vibe I got from what you said, and you're a music producer. I'm a musician. Email me if you get the chance or if you have the desire. I'm on Facebook, or you could email dahli@verizon.net. Get a hold of me.
Nate, are you on the friendship agenda?
Yes, I am on the friendship agenda. My screen name is Khan.
Excellent. Hello there, brother. Ben, we're all part of a thing that Freeman set up called the Friendship Agenda. We'd love you to join, man. Just go to friendshipagenda.com and
and add me as a friend, please. There's some of my music on my page as well. I would listen to track 15. That's kind of the end of the CD and where we're moving forward to, I think, and just how we're moving and working with our consciousness. So, kudos to you guys. Just keep doing your thing, and I love it over here.
Are you on YouTube?
Can you send us some of your tunes as well? We can play them on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
If you send them to Nick or Steve or Vic or anyone, or maybe not Vic.
Tell us now, and we'll find it and put it on.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. I can send that to you. I'll do it through the Friendship Agenda.
Okay.
Excellent.
Well, should we have a little bit of music whilst we're on the subject of music?
All right, for you guys. Cheers. You guys have a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep listening, man. Yeah. Okay, we're going to have a little 3-minute music, 3.5 minutes. You might miss it.
Oh, that's a cheeky ending.
That was very quick ending, yeah. So that was what the media taught you, is that right, Ben?
Yeah, the media taught you that.
The modern media taught you that, yeah.
And what an excellent tune that is, brother.
Yeah, beautiful.
I'd love to send you the rest of the album. I mean, it just
Oh yeah.
to me that was one of the first songs that we wrote for that, and in my opinion and in the band's opinion, the tunes just kept getting more and more solid and more succinct with the message. So I'd love to send you guys a record as well.
So what did you say? You're a 4-piece?
5-piece.
5-piece.
5-piece, yeah.
And what you just sing?
Yeah, I'm the singer. We have a guitarist, a bassist, drummer, and a keyboardist.
All right.
Have you heard of a band called the Maniac Agenda?
The Maniac Agenda?
Yeah. They're in Philadelphia, so you know you're both in Pennsylvania. I'll send you a link to them. They're wicked.
They're very similar sound to yourself as
Yeah.
well. Very good, and also lyrically very similar.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, yeah, definitely send me a link. I'd love to check them out.
Yeah, they're very good.
Well, just in the break there, Ben, we were just discussing things, and I understand you've had some interesting ayahuasca experiences. Would you want to just tell us a little bit about those, and perhaps we've got the guitarist in the background there having a little chuckle.
I just have to laugh every time. Every time I realize I got to prep myself to bring that situation back up, because it's profound. Yeah. The trips that I had, I guess the first one was in 2008. I went down to Peru, Iquitos, Peru, and I stayed with the tribe for about maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, and trying to think of where to start, because the whole experience started, I should say it this way, the moment that I decided, yes, I'm going to go down to South America and do it, I felt an awkward feeling inside me, and I didn't understand what that feeling was until I had taken my first ayahuasca, I had my first ayahuasca experience and realized that the ayahuasca was working on me before I had even gotten down there. It started working on me because it's in me, it's in all of us.
Yeah.
Immediately, as soon as I affirmed to myself that yes, I will go down there and I will, allow for this. So, I made the decision. I was just like, yes, I want this. I want to experience this. I go down there, meet up. I had a pretty stressful situation traveling down there. And then when I got there, it was just more and more stress. Like didn't have the money for food, plus there was a specific diet to go on before entering into an ayahuasca ceremony. So the stress was building a lot before I'd even gotten down there. But when I got down there, it was just gorgeous. It was right in the Amazon. We took a 2-hour trip down the Amazon River to get to where we were going. So it was literally in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And the first few ceremonies were intense, but the one thing I recognize about it is they creep up on you. The more you become familiar and comfortable, the more you open yourself up to it, and the more that it starts really, digging out the filth that we keep inside of us. So, long story short, I don't know if I want to. I mean, it could take forever to tell the whole story of it, but basically, the most profound, scary experience I've ever had was in an ayahuasca ceremony, and God, I'm wondering where to really go from there, because what it was as I began recognizing what was happening inside me, one of the ladies that had also taken ayahuasca right next to me began screaming bloody murder right next to me. So if you've ever been in a quiet ceremony where you're supposed to just sit and meditate and just focus inward, imagine complete silence, everybody's, really, really calm, and then all of a sudden right next to you a lady starts screaming at the top of their lungs. It becomes kind of alarming. So immediately I start feeling a buzz in my spine, in the base of my spine, from that scream, and it started creeping its way up my spine, and as it did that, I felt like it was suffocating me and I couldn't breathe, so I started to panic. So I left the Maloka, the ceremonial Maloka, and I ran off into the woods, which was Probably the biggest mistake, because it's even scarier out there. To cut ahead to the great part, I fell down a little ravine into into some running water, and I scratched myself up real good. I banged my head, and I was just laying there. I don't know if how many people know this, but you purge on ayahuasca.
Yeah.
So I was laying there in this running water, in clothes that are just covered in my own vomit.
Nice.
And just staring at the sky, shaking because I was freezing at this point. I was scared, I was trembling, and I was just repeating over and over in my head, please, please make this stop, please make this stop. And all of a sudden I kind of rose above myself for a second. I'm not going to say it was an out-of-body experience. I just abstractly looked at what I was doing, and I recognized that I chose to do this. I saw myself shaking, rocking back and forth in my own, vomit, blood, cuts all over me, crying because of this experience that I welcomed, that I asked for. And I just had to laugh at that, because I was like, Ben, you asked to do this? You asked?
Free will's a wonderful thing.
Sounds like the average weekend.
Yeah. Been there, brother.
Vic does that every weekend. I'm not kidding.
An average weekend, I will say that. So that, I'll tell you what, though, that was what pulled me out of it, was the humor. Only 2 words pulled me out of it, and it was humor and strength. And I realized, like, Ben, you're a lot stronger than this. You know that you're not dying. Intellectually, I knew I was not dying. I couldn't convince my body that I wasn't dying, though. But I knew that I was much stronger than what I was showing myself, and I also knew that it was hilarious what I looked like. So those 2 things, I began to just laugh, relax, and I just laid there for the next 30 minutes, staring at the sky. And I could say that with all the scratches and the bump of my head and bugs crawling all over me, and these are Amazonian bugs, so I was getting bit up pretty bad, but it felt amazing. And I'll say this: here is what that moment, and I've had several moments like this since then. Actually, one was 2 days ago, but what it really, really showed me was the fact that it was basically like a voice, but it was my voice saying this to me, is, Ben, just witness. That's all that you are owed here in this body. You are here to witness this beauty. You can look at it as a curse, or you can look at it as a blessing. But the bottom line is here in this experience that we call life, that's all. All I have to do is witness what's going on. And I realized how amazing it is that I even have the chance to be here at all. Even getting bit up by bugs, a bump on my head, bleeding, rolling around in my own vomit, I'm freezing, but I'm here, able to experience this. There's no other explanation as to why I would be here, other than the fact that I am here to be able to witness this beauty. So every time I reach some type of struggle in my life or a really difficult situation, I just need to go back to that moment and realize I don't have to be here at all. I am allowed to, and I am blessed to be here. And that's not a religious statement. That's just a personal human being realizing that there's really no explanation for this. And the fact that I get to be here at all doing what I'm doing, I still have oxygen in my lungs. I still have food on my plate every day. I have a roof over my head. It's beautiful. And all the rest of the things that I may complain about or, get down on myself about, that's me. That's me dealing with me. And it's, so I could say that the ayahuasca experience that I had there in Peru and in Brazil, because I've done several ceremonies, changed my life forever.
Cool. Yeah. How did you get back to the ceremony?
Good point. The shaman's assistant, which was this, it was a younger girl. She came looking for me because everything that I had told you actually only took a few minutes.
Okay.
it felt like it was forever, but it only took a few minutes. And by that time, the shaman's assistant found me and came up to me and was asking me, you know, do you want me to go get the shaman to make this stop? And actually, you know what? She came up to me twice. I'm forgetting this because she came up to me while I was still experiencing the fear, and she asked me, would you like me to go get the shaman? And I understood that, but everything else she said, and she was saying it in perfect English, I couldn't understand. And so I tried to say back to her, I don't understand the words you're saying, but all that came out. You ever seen Charlie Brown?
Yeah. He was with a teacher.
Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah.
Gibberish. Absolute nonsense. And her eyes got real big, like she was just like, oh my God, what's wrong with this kid? And she just walked away. And at that point, I was paralyzed with fear, but inside I was thinking, don't leave. So, but she came back then to pick me up and to walk me back, and I felt like my body was inebriated. I felt drunk. I felt incredible, but my motor skills were completely destroyed. So when she helped me up, it was like helping a drunk guy out of a bar because I couldn't use my legs. She actually had to call for somebody else to come over and help me back to the Maloka. So when I laid down back at the Maloka, that was the first time that the shaman brought out this instrument called a hong drum.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first time I had ever experienced a hong drum, and I fell in love at that moment with that instrument. So I'm still on a quest for a hong drum, and I know it'll find me at some point. But yeah, so that's how I made it back to the Maloka. That's how I got interested in hong drums, and that's my ayahuasca experience.
Wow, brilliant! I do like a good ayahuasca story.
I liked how, you know, your realization that you know, we are extremely lucky just to be on this rock.
But we chose it, and you know, you chose it. Yeah. Just.
What happened to the lady that screamed as well? Was she all right?
What's that?
The lady who screamed, was she okay in the end?
No, she left actually. Her husband was there, and she left, and it was very. I spoke with her afterwards. It was she didn't go through with the rest of the ceremonies because we did 4 ceremonies that visit, and she didn't go through with the rest of the ceremonies because it was just too much for her.
Fair enough.
She wasn't ready.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But you know, it was perfect because it was a catalyst that I needed. You know, who knows if she hadn't
right, yeah.
scared the living hell out of me, I may not have had that experience the way I did.
Yeah.
Synchronistic.
Does sound quite beautiful actually, on a little ravine and being.
Yeah.
Sounds
Being
amazing.
scared witless.
Hey, your buddy Rob has just sent me a message saying he's ready to come on. So would you?
Awesome. Let's welcome him.
Yeah. Should we get him on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So where are you at the moment with the band? Have you got another album sort of on the go, or are you writing, or?
Well, we just released an album last year, and we're still working on touring off that album. However, we're always writing. We're always writing new material.
And where can people buy your album?
The best place to go to buy the album is either iTunes or shows. You know, I mean, whoever's listening that is, you know, going to be around one of our shows, that's the best place to go, obviously, because you get to see us and experience it live and then take a piece of it home if you dig it. But if you're not around a show, I would say go onto iTunes and just put into the search engine Hierosonic, Hierosonic. And if you want to check out the website, it's hierosonic.com.
Yep, we'll do that for sure.
Excellent. And
oh yeah, actually, real quick, when is it? Come June 11th, we're going to be in stores in Germany, stores everywhere. So I guess they have Saturn there. Saturn music stores. The CDs are going to be in stores everywhere there.
Yeah, we don't have those here.
No.
Oh, right on. Well, you know, for everybody else, definitely, you know, find the Hierosonic Facebook page too. You know, we're now actually going to set up a new an online store so you could buy it directly from us. So
That's the best way, yeah.
And yeah, anybody who's listening, find our Facebook page, click the like button if you like what you hear, and email us. We respond to every single email.
Cool.
Excellent. Hello, Rob. Are you with us?
I'm here. Hello.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
So welcome to the Type1 Radio Lounge.
Thank you.
And for all our listeners, this is the star of the film Ungrip, all about your lovely journey and the great house that you built.
Yeah, that's fantastic house.
So Ben told us earlier how you two met. It was like his first talk and your first talk. So maybe you could give us a bit of a background on how you started, on your Freeman sovereignty journey.
Well, it's kind of an interesting story because our oldest son had a reaction to vaccines when he was like 1 year old, and by the time he got into grade school, he was really struggling. He wouldn't talk to anybody. He'd just sit and stare at ceiling fans all day, or look at wheels turning, and had a real hard time functioning. And the school wanted to start putting them on medications, Ritalin and that kind of stuff. And my wife thought, no, can't have that. So she found a homeopath, and we treated him homeopathically, and we noticed amazing results. To the point where by the time he was in grade 6, he was spelling at a grade 12 level.
Wow.
And so that's a quantum leap difference between what he was doing in grade 1 to grade 6. So that prompted my wife to start studying to be a homeopath herself, and through her studies she started learning about some of the realities of the medical industry, pharmaceuticals, politics, and that sort of thing. And she's the one that introduced me to concepts like the legal fictions that were taking place, and introducing ideas like building earthships so that we can mitigate the risk of being vulnerable in the event of an ice storm or blackouts or those kind of things, and about what it's going to take to govern ourselves. And so that started that journey, and that was back in 2005. And so 7 years later, I'm here sharing my story and seeing if I can influence people to consider other alternatives.
How long did it take you to make the film? Did Ben just come up and stay with you for a few a couple of weeks, or?
Well, I don't know if he shared that part of the story, but when we met in Toronto, that was 2008, so about 4 years ago now, and it was a few years later that we started talking about making a film, and we started it, and then I got scared and got cold feet, and so we put it off, and I think we both needed to do some growing, and I think that happened, and so late 2010, early 2011, we decided let's get this done. And so we worked hard through. Well, Ben did most of the work actually, because most of the filming was done already. But he came out again that summer. He was out a couple times to do some filming, and I feel Ben put a spectacular film together, and I'm really proud of the work that he did, and reflecting our story, and the commentary that he added to it was just absolutely wonderful.
Ben, you've just sent a little note, mate, so you've got to go soon?
Yeah, the hotspot that I'm using, we're basically in the next 5 minutes, I'm gonna have to leave, so I didn't want to, I typed it out to you guys, I didn't want to announce it over word. But real quick on what Rob said, just to challenge you a little bit, Rob. Yeah, I may have done most of the work on the film, but the work was all about the lifetime worth of work that you put in your life. So, and I know you know that, but I'm just making sure everyone else knows that too.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Ben, and give us a Skype call. And when you're over here, you definitely come round here and do some talks with us.
We'll get in touch again off air, and we'll send you some of those links we talked about earlier.
For sure. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's been really lovely. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, Rob, nice talking with you again. We'll chat soon. Love the work that you guys are doing. Thank you guys so much, and hopefully we'll do this again soon.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, cheers.
Cheers, Ben. Cheers. So, sorry about that, Rob.
Bye, Ben. No problem.
So, with the Freeman sovereignty movement, it appears to be quite well established, from our side, it seems to be quite well established with quite a lot of people doing talks, like Dean Clifford, that I'm sure you're aware of.
Particularly in Canada, you're talking about.
Yeah.
In Canada. The Canadians seem to be, you guys seem to be
Rob Maynard,
doing it for real. It's very inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that are getting out and being vocal and sharing their stories and, pounding the pavement. You mentioned Rob Maynard and Dean Clifford. I studied their work, and Russ Perisky. There's a whole bunch of guys, and BC seems to be a real hotbed for it. But Dean Clifford's from Manitoba. I'm in Alberta, and but there's a lot of people even in the States. I'm getting people contacting me from Australia, Great Britain. Like, there's people all over the world. India, I have people talking to me from India now that are waking up and realizing that, everybody, it doesn't matter where we live in the world, we're all facing the same kind of issues.
Yep. And
I think together, as awareness starts to spread around the world, that the people will stand up and say, you know what, I think we can do this differently, and I think we can do this by governing ourselves and keeping our power and managing our power ourselves rather than giving it away to corporate elite or political parties. Mm-hmm. And as such, then the people can make a change and finally see freedom for the first time in the history of mankind, and have that sweep across the face of the earth.
Yeah, because I think I see in the future that as more and more people become aware of this, yourself being a bit of a pioneer in this movement, actually going and moving yourself out of society and setting yourself up in your own home, that's quite a radical step for most people to take. And I think that as the movement grows and awareness develops amongst just the general population, that we'll be able to develop just within our own communities the same feeling that you're developing in a more isolated way. I mean, I know Canada's a very big country, and you're very lucky that you've got a very big space of land there. But for people who are living in towns or villages or cities, perhaps not cities so much, but certainly towns and villages, that there can be more of a sense of having your community off-grid as such, as more and more people take this on. I don't know, it's different in England, because obviously we're a very small country, and we've got some very twee little villages, and I think also perhaps in England as well, there's still perhaps more of a sense of real community going on, that people know their neighbours, people talk to, we talk to people at bus stops and in the street. I get a sense that in America it's far less, people are a bit more scared of the outside world and tend to live through their television a lot more than we do here. Obviously that influence is coming over here a lot more,
well, then, again,
but it hasn't knocked the community sense out of us that much, has it?
There is still a hell of a lot of people watching Britain's Got Talent, unfortunately.
Yeah, but
I mean, I suppose that is still bringing the community together in a way.
Gives everyone something to talk about at school and on the bus, doesn't it?
Well, my view is, here in Canada and the United States, you hear politicians talking about, building community and supporting community, but from my point of view, I see them more focusing on infrastructure, buildings, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's not community. The community is our relationships with one another. And when I lived in the city, I didn't even know my neighbors most part, and any attempt that I made to communicate with them, it was kind of shunned because they felt very uncomfortable with that. Mm-hmm. I grew up on the farm. People think that living out on the farm is very isolating, but in fact, we have stronger community out here in the rural areas than anybody has in the cities. And when we moved back out here, in the first few weeks, almost every single neighbor we have within, 2 or 3 miles drop by to say hi and, let us know where they live. And, if we had any issues or problems, this is where we are. And an open invitation to come and say hi or, have a coffee or borrow their tractor, right?
Yeah.
You just don't have that in the city.
It's funny, when we were living in London, this was many years ago, and I had my first child, and as soon as I had that child, lots of people started coming up to me and going, "Oh, you've had the baby then? Oh, what did you have?" And people brought me gifts and things, and I discovered a community that I didn't know was there.
Yeah.
It was quite beautiful, actually.
Well, and my view is that, with the corporate political systems that we have, they're getting so large and so cumbersome that I truly believe that they will fail at some point.
Because people...
Very soon.
It takes an awful lot for them to dehumanize people, but it takes very little to bring the humanity back into people. And you only have to see a very simple act of humanity for that to be reawakened in people.
Or even just smile.
Yeah.
Smiling at people, it makes that connection, and it might make their day.
Yeah.
Well, and I teach martial arts too, and I teach my students, like, when you walk down the sidewalk, a lot of people look down at the sidewalk. They won't raise their head and look in people's eyes as they're passing by, and for a lot of people that even feels uncomfortable. And so I teach my students, walk up with your head up, look people in the eye, smile at them, and you completely disarm people, and you, like you guys said, you make that connection, and that in itself makes a huge difference in how people feel.
And also, if when you're walking with your head up, you're opening the heart area, and you're actually giving a better signal to people, as opposed to a cowering signal where you've got you're carrying something on your back. You're carrying the energy on your back because the world is too heavy for you, and you've sunk into your own energy somehow. This is a message of it's a message of defeat within the body, and so there's you're giving off this kind of energy. Whereas if you're good morning, I'm walking down the road with a smile on my face and my heart's open, it's not only in yourself is that giving a better, and posture-wise, you're feeling better. I think you are connecting more with the people around you and the people that you're going to meet.
Yeah, well, and you're also stepping into your energy and your power as well too. And a lot of people feel uncomfortable with their power.
Yeah.
And walking with your head up empowers you, and it also communicates that to other people as well. And because it shows confidence and high self-esteem, and it kind of has that aura around you. And a lot of my students were very uncomfortable with that, and it took a lot of work to break those old habits and to step into that power and that authority that we all have within ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And in the true sense of the word, that's being sovereign, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. It's about not giving our power away, because we give our power away when we vote. We give our power away when we, ask the system to feed us or give us employment insurance or, pensions or any of that kind of stuff. You know, all of that responsibility lies upon the individual, and you know, as soon as we apply for benefits or privileges from the state, then we end up being children. And you know, as we talked about in the film, you know, the state is just our parent, and these benefits and privileges are then used to, you know, look after the children. And if you misbehave, then, you know, you lose a benefit or a privilege, or, you know, you get fined and, you know, that kind of stuff, right?
You have to go and sit on the naughty step, as they say.
Yeah, it's no different than
Prison.
what you would do with your 2-year-old if they were misbehaving, right? So to actually grow up and take 100% responsibility and accountability for your life, you know, that's a huge step, because none of us have really been adults yet, and so, you know, we're still working at it. You know, it's a huge amount of responsibility and amount of work, because these are skills that nobody's ever taught us, and so having to work through that for the first time is daunting. And you know, my hope is that by sharing our story, we can significantly reduce the amount of effort and work for other people. And I believe that the more people that we can get growing up and taking full responsibility and actually being 100% accountable adults, then we can start building interdependent relationships and true community. And I believe we can then resolve a lot of the issues that we see in our current political, social, economic systems today.
I think also, like you're saying, using the analogy there of bringing up children and how the state treats us as children, that there's bringing up my own children, I've been kind of pondering these issues of authority, and obviously I want them to see me as an authority figure, because I don't want them to just be wild and running around and doing whatever they like. But obviously I do want them doing that at the same time. But there has to be a certain amount of, you have to have a certain amount of authority there, so that they can have structure within their lives, so that they can grow in the right sense. But it's getting that balance between where they see authority, an authority that they respect, or an authority which is just an authority for the sake of an authority. And we were talking earlier about like there's a lot of dog training programs on the TV. I don't know if you get them over in Canada. And then you get these programs of like Super Nanny. I don't know if you get something like that over there. And they're very similar. When you look at them, the way they do these doggy training things and the child training things.
Pavlovian.
It is.
all
It's
rewards,
very Pavlovian. It's all rewards.
Reward
centered,
punishment sort of thing,
and punishment centered and reward centered, and the rewards, you know, often it's food rewards and this kind of thing. And
but you'll also notice though that they're training the parents; they don't really train the child.
That's right.
And, you know, the whole point is, in my view, is to use that authority while you have influence with the child, because you can use that authority to groom them, but with the intent that at one point you will let go and let them govern themselves.
That's it.
That's exactly
where the state currently doesn't do that. They want to keep us dependent. Completely, right? And so that's where some of the breakdown is, and we can't depend on them to, you know, let go of the reins and let us be completely independent. I believe we have to grow up ourselves and then claim that for ourselves.
Well, they haven't particularly educated us to be that independent, have they? Because they're scared of that kind of power.
And we're keeping them in a job at the end of the day. They're our employees, and they need us to remain ignorant and unaware of our true potential in order to keep them, even though they are themselves
but when you say
sovereign, it's like the system, you know, the system itself is set up for other people to police other people.
But in a way, it's like when you say them, that is actually other people like us.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we're in a kindergarten, but we've all grown up, but we're still allowing somebody within the kindergarten to tell us when we can eat our food, and you can do the painting now, did you take somebody's pencil? You know, but we're adults in this situation.
As Max Egan said in Transformation, we think ourselves free, but we're just free range.
Yeah, we're still,
Well, and my view is that, you know, we're all physically mature, but in my life, for example, there was still a lot of work I had to do to mature mentally and emotionally, and that didn't happen until I was like 33, 34 years old. And I still see some people who are even 80 or 90 years old, and they're still not emotionally or mentally mature.
Do you know what? That's a very good point, because I see in a lot of children that this is, as children are developing, I'm seeing a lot of children who are not able to go from one emotional state to another. So you find children of, say, 10 years old who are capable children but still have the emotional state of, say, a 6 or 7 year old. And then you maybe see teenagers of, say, 14 or 15, but who have the emotional state of maybe a 10 or 11 year old. And you see it in adults, people in their 20s who still have the emotional state of maybe their teenage years, and this goes on and on.
Arrested development.
Yeah, and there is no way in our society, or there seems to be no avenues whereby that emotional development is actually nurtured, because they do want to actually keep that repressed, so that we're adolescents for as long as
if you
possible.
listen to John, what John Taylor Gatto talks about, and it's the opposite. They're actually trying to manufacture that to keep a prolonged childhood.
Yeah.
So we've got this dependence on a so-called authority, and I don't even think the authority have grown up yet, because it goes back to what we were talking about with Ben, of balance and having self-authority, and you can't have authority over anyone else until you've got authority over yourself. And that's sovereignty, and it's actually owning the sovereignty, owning sovereignty.
My view is that we actually do have the infrastructure in place to be able to do that. It's just that it's been torn down for thousands of years, and that structure is, very similar to the way the First Nations people governed themselves for thousands of years before the Europeans came to North America. Yeah. They had the family, they had the clans, they had the tribes, and a child within their organization, when they reached a certain age of maturity, would go through a celebration or a ritual, and at that point they would be treated like an adult, and they resolved their disputes within their communities. The elders were respected, and they depended on their elders quite a bit for guidance. They had teams responsible for different aspects of the community. Everybody had a role to play. Everybody had a part to play within the community. And we don't have that anymore. The family's been almost literally destroyed. The mom and the dad are out working 2 or 3 jobs. Kids are at home alone most of the time. The grandparents are stuck in old folks' homes, and it's completely backwards in my view.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember the point I was going to say now. But I think that. I've gone again.
Why don't you tell us about your house? It looks amazing.
Are you still there? Yeah.
Yeah. The house is called an earthship, and it was designed. The idea was designed by Michael Reynolds, who is an architect in Taos, New Mexico, in the United States, and he's been doing this type of structure now for 30, 40 years. And we decided to choose this over like a cob or a straw bale or anything like that, mainly because, one, we didn't have a lot of time to do research. We just wanted to get out here and go. And we liked what he was doing because You know, the building is passive solar heated. It's built out of recycled materials. Oh, let me turn that off. Sorry about that.
That's green van coming round.
So the building's heated with the sun, and the heat is stored in the thermal mass of the dirt in the floor and in the tires, kind of like a battery stores electricity. And that regulates the heat in the building. And because we live so far north, you know, we get cold, long winters.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been in the building now for 3 years. Keeps us nice and warm in the wintertime. You know, when the sun comes out, you know, it could literally be 27 degrees inside the house, even though it's like minus 40 outside.
Wow. That's the kind of house you need. You know?
Yeah. So we don't have a forced air furnace or anything like that. We just have a small little wood stove to, you know, just bump the temperature up to room temperature, you know, when it gets, you know, a little chilly. The building won't freeze. It, you know, even if we didn't burn the stove through the winter time, the coldest it would get is like plus 10, plus 13 degrees.
Wow.
And we collect rainwater off the roof. So that's our water source. So we, you know, wash and, you know, do dishes and all that kind of stuff with that water.
Mm-hmm.
We're not done building yet, but when we are, we'll have gray water planters. So all the gray water that comes off the showers and sinks will go in to be treated with plants.
Mm-hmm.
So we're growing plants inside the house. And we have solar power for electricity. And, you know, we're working hard now to build an off-grid greenhouse. That's what we're working on this weekend here. That has the same kind of concept as the Earthship, so that we can grow food all year round off-grid.
So is your only expense still your internet connection?
Yeah, our current expense is internet, phones, you know, fuel for our trucks and vans.
Okay, right, yeah.
You know, we still have some dependency on the grocery stores because we're not 100% sustainable yet in regards to growing all of our food. But all told, you know, we could easily live on less than $1,000 a month.
Wow. We've actually got a question from a friend in the States, and he was wondering how you go about getting a passport if you don't have one.
I don't travel, so
Right,
you know, there's no need for me to get a passport. You know, travel and healthcare are probably the two top questions I get in this regard.
Okay.
If I had a desire to travel, the one thing that I would work on doing is traveling the same way the Queen travels.
Yeah.
Because the Queen doesn't have a passport either, right?
Yeah, no, that's correct.
So I would use, or I would claim international law of nations.
Diplomatic
in order
immunity.
to travel as a diplomatic immunity. Yeah.
And send them notice to say that you will be travelling.
Yeah. So
I'm a king. I'm a king, right? So
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So do you know Rob Menard personally then, or have you met him?
I've never met him. I've seen a lot of his videos and I've researched a lot of his work. His work has influenced mine. There's a number of people like Winston Strout and Richard Cornforth, and, you know, those kind of guys that I've studied a lot, and I kind of picked and choose, you know, the gems out of their stuff. Yeah. And I've also done a lot of my own work, which is original as well too. So my approach is quite a bit different than most people.
Michael of Benicia, do you know this guy?
Sorry?
Michael of Benicia?
Is he the libertarian from the U.S.?
No, he's from the UK and he formed the Universal Community Trust.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was he who mentioned your film to me.
Oh, okay.
I attended a talk he did December last year.
At the same place where you Skyped in on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know him. I haven't heard of the organizations.
I'll send you.
Have a look at his stuff. It's very interesting. I mean, he does a lot of the stuff that you're involved with as well.
Okay.
interesting guy. He's got a few things on the go. He's fighting mortgages over here right now. The sort of legal collateral that they have is supposedly zero, and he's trying to expose it at the moment.
Okay.
And doing a lot of stuff like that. Quite a brave guy.
Yeah.
One of the things I realize is a lot of the commercial stuff is all part of the system, and when I teach things, I kind of explain how this giant pyramid is structured on the public side, and commerce, UCC, all that kind of stuff is all in there, and I refuse to play their game because it's complicated, it's dangerous, and it's all a fiction, it's all fake. And so I chose to live on the private side and live in the real world. And so I teach people the difference between the two, because the vast majority of people are still stuck in the fiction and living fake lives. And I know most people probably don't understand what I'm saying there, but
have you totally divorced yourself from all your legal fiction entities, or do you still use some as security interests?
No,
deal with the corporations.
I've completely removed myself from all of that. So I sent back the birth certificate, driver's license, passport, Alberta healthcare card, marriage certificate, all the social insurance number. That's all been sent back. My view is that I am a sovereign individual. My master is the creator of the heavens and the earth, and as such, I only have one master, and that master is God. So, as such, their jurisdiction is different than the jurisdiction I operate under. And because of that, all of the documents, all the government-issued ID, all that kind of stuff, are now foreign to me, and as such, I returned all those foreign instruments back to the creator who created those instruments, and that was the government.
Mm-hmm. So, in the sense that you don't actually live in Canada anymore.
No, nobody lives in Canada anyway, because Canada is just a corporation.
Yeah. But in the place where they call, it's just the water anyway, isn't it? It's just the waterways.
It's just the waterways, Canada.
And you guys aren't in Great Britain. There is no UK. There is no Ireland. There is no United States. Yeah. Those are all just fictions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just live on a little rock.
So, have you had any in the film? You had a problem with the authorities about planning and stuff, and then you said they hadn't touched you for 2 years. Have you heard anything from them since?
They still haven't touched me.
No, that's great.
Cool.
And that was 2007. So
yeah, I really liked that part when he turned up at the gate when you just sort of went, go away.
Yeah.
Well, if you know who you are, and you know the difference between the soul spiritual being that you are, and the fact that you're possessing the physical vessel called man, your body, and if you know the difference between that and this person that they refer to, which is the corporation, then it's very easy to detach yourself and recognize that they have no authority over you. The only authority they have over is the person. But like I said, everybody's living in this fiction. So, if you permit me to give you an example here.
Please do.
The way I explain it to people is the word person comes from the word persona, which is a mask. Okay?
Yeah.
And the word corporation comes from the word corpus, which is a dead body. That's why we need lawyers, because these dead bodies can't talk, and we need somebody alive to talk for them. Okay, that's the only reason we have lawyers, is to talk for corporations.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this thing called the corporation soul, and what that is when the living man, the soul spiritual being, takes this corporation and wraps it around themselves and puts on the mask. And when you do that, you're then talking for the dead corporation. You're like infusing life into this dead thing. Mm-hmm. And what I'm trying to help people with is recognize that all of these fictions that they have is not them. and they're dead. And so I'm trying to help people to take off the mask, take off this dead body, this cloak that we have wrapped around ourselves, and start to live in the real world as, sentient, sovereign human beings. And if we can do that, then we're moving from being dead to being alive. And there's a term for that. It's called resurrection.
Resurrection, right. Yeah. Hallelujah.
Yeah. All debts are paid.
All debts are paid, yeah. Tell us that, is it?
Mm. Tell us. Oh, yeah.
Tell us that. Excellent. So, when you went about buying the land, Rob, did you have to go through your sort of fiction to do that?
Sorry, you're breaking up.
Oh, sorry, when you bought your land or purchased your land, did you have to go through your fiction to do that? Hello? Hello?
Hello,
Yeah,
Rob.
he's still there. He's gone.
Have we lost him?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there.
There we go.
Did you
Okay.
catch,
What was the question?
The question was, when you purchased your land, did you have to go through? Did you go through that as your legal fiction?
Yeah, we did it before I did any of this, so it was all done through the legal fiction.
Right.
However, since then, my soul, spiritual being, and my man have laid a claim of right on the land, and we've established our jurisdiction with my own coat of arms and my flag.
Okay.
So the land issue and the property taxes are the last thing that I've had some troubles unwinding, because the truth is we're still living in a feudal system, and trying to break free from that feudal system is quite challenging.
Yeah, very, very. Yeah, we've been sort of looking into doing a few things ourselves, and it's just been a few brick walls running into, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I mean, obviously your story's brilliant, very inspiring. So, what do you do for money then now? Do you still do a job, or?
Well, we sell eggs, chickens. I hold classes. Every now and then, again, I'll help a friend, maybe frame a house, or, I just do odd jobs here and there. I have faith that we'll be looked after, and, that's served me well for 5 years, because I haven't had a job in 5 years.
Yeah, cool. Right.
And, whenever we need money, then it somehow, some way, it just shows up, whether it's in the form of a job or, whatever, right? So it's been challenging trusting the Creator in that regards, but we've been served very, very well doing that.
Excellent. And your kids, are they grown up now, or do you home ed them?
My boys are 18 and 15 now.
Right.
And my oldest is looking at building on the property here and staying and helping out with the farm and continue his own spiritual journey as well. So my youngest, he kind of sounds like he'll move back into the city and give it a shot. So,
right.
I'm not going to hold them back from any of that stuff. I'm teaching them both sides of the fence, and I'll leave that choice up to him when he's ready to make it.
Yeah.
And, if he needs help later on, then he knows where I'm at.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, no, good way to do it and look at it. Something we're kind of in a similar situation ourselves, as regarding sort of children and sort of bringing them up, and because we've got friends who are pregnant at the moment, and it's going to be quite interesting to see what they do about sort of would you now, with what you know now, register your kids, or do the birth certificate thing?
Not a chance. Not a chance in the world.
Do you know, do you know Michael of Benici?
No, I just asked him.
Oh, right. Oh, sorry. I was mucking around.
Yeah, the guy I was just mentioning to you sort of has done all this, and he's actually got her a passport. His little daughter a passport sort of thing, which he like a diplomatic immunity one.
Okay.
And he's done his own birth certificate sort of thing, and he was actually because he didn't do the legal one that you have to do over here. And he agreed to pay the fine, which was £2, which is about $4. He couldn't believe it. He went through all this sort of, battle with them, only to sort of find out that the fine was actually a stupid, token amount. So there was nothing to worry, because they do sort of tell you over here it's like up to £1,000 fine if you don't register your child.
Yeah, and I think I'm starting to hear numbers about 50,000 here.
Really? Bloody
yeah, it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, they're obviously getting worried.
Well, I think they are getting worried, and I'm actually quite excited about it because they're starting to see that people are recognizing the truth, and the risk that is for them is that when people start standing up and governing themselves, then they're out of a job, they're out of their power and control positions, and they're then regulated to, the same status and level as you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And these individuals, I believe, are corrupted because they're power hungry and greedy, and they've kind of went to the dark side.
Yeah.
And I believe we can change the system without throwing a single stick or a rock, and that's just by taking our power back. And then at that point, they got nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we use love as our weapon. Yeah.
Yeah, and at that point, then I'll say, well, you got nothing. You're welcome to sit at my table.
Yeah, good on you. Yeah, with some free-range eggs. And what else have you got on the farm? Just
we got goats. I had bees here. I lost them this winter, so I got to get some new bees.
No.
We're looking at getting some pigs, and they're all heritage breeds. So none of this GMO.
Yeah.
Hybrid type animals.
How did you lose your bees? Did they?
I made a mistake in the fall, and I didn't turn their door from the summer door to the winter door, and I think I froze them out. So.
Oh no.
it's part of the process.
Part of learning,
right?
Yeah. Were they organic bees though? Or?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I didn't smoke them. I didn't feed them sugar or anything like that.
It wasn't the parasites that killed them then?
No, I don't think that was the case either.
Well, they do say that the organic bees don't succumb to these parasites. It's only because of the ones that have been weakened by the pesticides and the ones that have been bred.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I asked. I didn't.
The ones that are on aspartame.
Yeah, our bees aren't close to any GMO crops, and there's no spraying around here either. And as a result, they make absolutely the most amazing honey you've ever tasted.
I'll bet, yeah.
Not in the volume that you would get in a commercial hive, but it was still absolutely amazing. So, and our eggs are the same way too. Our eggs are, I believe they're the world's best eggs, and they taste better than even eggs you get out of the farmer's market and that kind of stuff. And I believe that's the case because we're using heritage chickens. And we've figured out a way to close the nutrient cycle, so these eggs are very high nutritional value, and they're fertilized as well too. So
we get eggs from a local farm.
Yeah, a local farm. It's amazing.
This week they've all been double yolks.
Oh wow!
Yeah, every single one of them. It's been incredible.
Twins.
Wow.
Yeah, twins. Yeah.
So that's 6. So that's 12 yolks we've had out of 6 eggs.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah, I actually know I know the farm where we get our eggs from, so it's still quite commercial, but it's organic free range, so Bognor.
Yeah. Well, we don't use any chemicals or growth hormones or any of that kind of stuff. My wife's a homeopath, so if there is any issues, we would deal with it homeopathically.
Yeah.
And we also hatch our own chicks too, so we don't get them from the hatchery. We deal that ourselves, so there's a little bit more work involved, but we know absolutely are guaranteed that we know how the chickens are treated, where they come from, what they're fed.
Yeah.
And we encourage people, our customers, to come out and spend time out here and spend time with the animals and try to build a relationship with their food, because we're so detached from our food through the corporate food system.
Absolutely.
Just on the subject of your wife, is she a practicing homeopath now then?
Well, she practices, but not full time. You know, she'll help the odd friend, that sort of thing.
Okay.
You know, she spends a lot of time milking the goats and looking after the animals and that kind of stuff, while I build infrastructure and teach classes and you know, support the family that way, right? So.
Yeah. Excellent. Because that couldn't have been long that she's been studying it, is it?
Well, she started
Oh, of course,
studying.
yeah, 10 years, yeah. Yeah, so, excuse me.
Yeah. Yes, I
2000.
yeah. I haven't studied homeopathy to become a homeopath, but I certainly read up on homeopathy when I was pregnant to know how to deal with certain things. And when my kids got chicken pox, the homeopathic remedy that I used really helped. You know, really noticeably.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's you hear so much kind of debunking or supposed debunking of homeopathy, where people say, oh well, it's the placebo effect, but you can't use a placebo on children. They you know, especially children who you know, under
or
the age of 1 year old, or an animal, exactly. Yeah. So it just that argument just doesn't stand.
Well, my view is if the royal family uses homeopathy and doesn't use the traditional medical system, then that in itself there's merit.
Yeah.
And you know, India, for example, homeopathy is their primary healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most of the homeopathic remedies come from India.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Ayurvedic system.
Ayurvedic system, yeah.
And all these remedies and natural cures have all been around for a lot longer than the pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they've been around, and I find it interesting how they have the nerve to say, well, there's these alternative medicines, and it's like, well, actually, you're the alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. They are the.
Well, and that's why I have no love for the corporation. My belief is the pharmaceutical, healthcare, you know, almost every single industry you can think of is all governed through this scarcity mentality of the corporation, and it's necessary to have scarcity in order for the corporation to make profits.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are looking for prosperity in their life, but you can't do that when you live in a model that is governed by scarcity. So if we want prosperity, then my view is that we need to remove ourselves from the scarcity model and step away from the corporations and move into a different model. And so I've worked really hard to remove all my dependencies from corporations so that I can start turning things around and living in that love prosperity type model. And it's challenging because most people are still in the corporation model, and it's taken a long time to build the relationships with people so that we can start making that shift.
Mm.
You know, for example, you know, when it's sunny out and it's minus 40, we're opening the windows because we have too much heat. Well, that's prosperity, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, having an abundance. And having an abundance of heat in northern Alberta is crazy in regards to some people because, you know, they're living in houses where, you know, the fuel, you know, costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. And so when you're warm, you're not going to vent it outside because it'll cost you a lot of money to get it back.
Mm. Yeah. That's it. And actually, on a hot day or on a cold day, there's nothing worse than being stuck in a centrally heated house, which is just makes you so hot and clammy.
Yeah.
You just want the warmth, but you want to open the windows at the same time.
Yeah.
So what sort of heating? I mean, I know you've got the house designed so that it retains heat and that, but do you actually have any heating for your hot water and that kind of thing? What kind of heating systems do you have for that? Or if you need instant heat, electricity, that kind of thing?
Well, we're using the wood stove to heat water in the wintertime, and I'm building solar hot water heaters to heat water in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of ways we can heat water. Even our solar system is designed so that if I have excess solar power, like let's say all the batteries are all topped up and it's still lots of sun out, then I can redirect that energy to heating water as well too. So I have lots of options in regards to heating water without using propane or natural gas or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. And do you have a certain amount of helpful electrical devices in the home, like a washing machine or something like that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we have a washing machine. This laptop that I'm working on right now, it's all being powered with solar power right now. We got a TV. We have a refrigerator, deep freeze.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to, govern ourselves in regards to how we use our power, because it's not completely unlimited like, if we were on the grid.
Yeah.
So, for example, our deep freeze is out in a shed. So in the summertime, we got lots of sun because we're so far north, we get 16 hours of sunlight.
Yeah.
But in the wintertime, we may only get, 3 or 4 hours of useful sunlight. But in the wintertime, Mother Nature keeps our food frozen, so I don't need to run it.
Yeah.
Where most people in the city, their deep freezes, they're down in their basement and they're running it all year round.
Mm-hmm. Do you have differentials of light through the times of year as well? So like in the summer you're getting, like the midnight sun.
Yeah, just
we're not quite that far.
Oh, sorry, I missed.
So in the summertime, like summer solstice, the sun will go down around 11:30, and be up at 3 or 4 o'clock. But in the wintertime, it's dark at 4 p.m. and sun doesn't come up until 8. So we only have like 8 hours of sunlight.
It's like that in Scotland.
Pretty much like that in Scotland, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're quite far north, but down here it's
down
it's
here
kind of more balanced. Yeah. We're near the middle here.
Yeah.
So whereabouts in Canada are you? North?
In northern Alberta.
Right.
We're actually literally about 3 or 4 hours from the Fort McMurray tar sands.
From where, sorry?
The tar sands in Fort McMurray.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. It's about an hour and a half north of Edmonton.
Do you have any issues in your area with things like fracking and the industrial world kind of encroaching on your sanctuary, as it were?
Well, we don't have a well or anything like that. However, fracking is, it's being done here. The tar sands are a big issue. Pollution in regards to the industrial industry, because Alberta is a huge oil town, right? It's all about oil here. So, there's lots of arguments about high voltage power lines because they're trying to revamp the infrastructure here. So, these are all great big huge public infrastructure projects that I completely disagree with. However, for me to sit there and attend a rally or something like that is, in my view, worthless. So what I'm trying to do is live my life a certain way, share my story, and if I can influence other people to start making some changes in their life, then at some point these corporations will not have a customer base and they'll be forced to change or shut down because in the end we still vote with our dollars, and they're doing it because they're making money, and they make money because people buy their products.
Yeah.
So in the end, I think that 100% of the responsibility still rests with the individual, and if we can recognize the true power that we have and how we wield that power and how we give it away, I think we can make huge, huge changes in how people behave and the type of business that we do just by simply changing how we live our own lives.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very well put. So.
And how well people would be able to live in the wilds and the wilderness if only we were allowed access to free energy technology, which we know is out there and is being used in military application.
Yeah.
But I mean,
well, I believe it's coming. I believe it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's just being patient and working through some of these challenges until it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely one day there'll be a flood of devices on the market, sort of thing, and that'll be the, the paradigm shift will happen through that. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Justin Hall Tippin's carbon film, like carbon polymer, that basically you can stick it on your window and it'll just absorb the
ether.
No, not the ether. The red spectrum light.
Oh, infrared light,
and convert that to a little energy box that'll store, and you can zap it to your neighbours. Sounds wicked. And you can put stuff on.
I haven't heard of that one, but
it's a really interesting TED talk that he did regarding it.
Send him a link.
I'll send you a link.
Well, it's interesting because living this type of lifestyle, I get all kinds of people sending me links and ideas, and you got to check this out and check that out. And, there's literally thousands and thousands of different ideas and techniques, and people are doing some absolutely creative, wonderful things out there. And for us, the reality is my time is still finite, and so I still have to manage and govern the time properly. And I'd love to be able to get all kinds of different technologies and ideas out here. We're just not set up yet to be able to do that because we're still working on establishing ourselves so that we can remove ourselves completely from the system. And at that point, we will have the time and the resources to then start playing around with a lot of this stuff. I do want to establish what we have here as, a world class facility to teach people how to live off-grid and even showcase a lot of these different ideas and technologies. And I think it would be perfect for us to do it out here because we don't have to worry about the public or the grid or any of that kind of stuff. And so we can really show how we can integrate that stuff and make this type of lifestyle much, much easier than what it is right now.
Yeah, no one can shut you down.
Yep.
Excellent. I like that idea.
Yeah. Definitely. So we've got about 5 minutes left. So
if you've got any websites or information that you where people can get hold of you if you want them to.
I got a website. It's consciousselfgovernance.ca. That's CONSCIOUS self SELF governance GOVERNANCE.ca. And if you visit my website, you can sign up for my free newsletter. I send out a newsletter every week or so that has projects that we're working on, writings. I talk from anywhere from off-grid issues to current events like elections and legal implications and all that kind of stuff. Workshops, that sort of thing. And I'm also on Facebook too, so you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/conscious-self-governance, and I have a page there where people share information and that sort of thing as well too.
And also everyone can go and watch Ungrip, the amazing film that you helped be a part of.
Yep. And if you watch Ungrip at the end of the film, the website is listed there too, so if you didn't catch the spelling, you can catch it there.
Yeah. Excellent.
Well, thank you so much, Rob. It's been beautiful to talk to you. We'll have you back on again one day if you're up for it again.
Yep, I'd love to. And, you know, I want to express my gratitude and appreciation for you guys to give me an opportunity to share my story and some of my thoughts with yourselves and your listeners. And, you know, I greatly appreciate that. And it was a wonderful conversation.
Roger here, I've got 90 seconds. No, it's been
Yeah, no, it's been really great, and I know that everyone we've got a lot of people in the chat room. We've got a lot of listeners that come through from the Friendship Agenda,
And I'm sure...
I've got a few in Canada.
Yeah, quite a few in Canada.
Calgary and
I'm sure the people that missed you a lengthier talk on Saturday will be glad that this is there for them to listen to as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. You're always
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. God bless you guys.
Cool.
Cool.
Cheers, Rob.
And that's tonight's show.
Tonight's
Yeah,
show,
what's up
special Monday night.
for
So
tonight?
don't forget to tune in for Retta on Thursday.
Yeah, and then
Swami on Friday.
Om Namah Shivaya.
On Namah Shiva Friday.
And then the lounge Saturday. I don't know who's on yet.
Well, I won't be. I'm not around this weekend. Or next week, or the weekend after.
I'll be here.
Well, oh yeah, you're. Bye, folks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
No archive stick. Long thing. No.